I'm James Swanwick. This is the Alcohol Free Lifestyle Podcast, where you learn to live a life of health, wealth, love, and happiness.
When we are drinking, when we are trapped in that vicious cycle, we have some low moments. If you are in that cycle, I'm sure some of them will pop up from time to time or even very frequently. It makes sense that you would want to avoid these, and it may even push you to the bottle. On the other side of alcohol, I can look back at those moments now with a sense of compassion, but it took time and learning and patience. Today, I'm going to talk about my worst moment with myself when I was 47 years old. Thanks for joining me. My name is Victoria English. I'm the head coach here at Alcohol Free Lifestyle. I never thought that I would be so vulnerable with my personal story. However, I have found, after several years of coaching and working with hundreds of people, that vulnerability is an invitation to connection with others. And to get this alcohol thing behind us, it's crucial. Connection is crucial. And so I've learned that I really can't ask others to be vulnerable and open with me if I'm not willing to do the same. So what I'm sharing today is vulnerable, but I hope that it will help you feel less alone. When I look back on my drinking, there were quite a few dark moments, and a lot of them had to do with my kids, whom I love more than anything in the world. I remember the look of disappointment, frustration, anger on their faces when I would break yet another promise. If you're listening and you have children, I'm sure you can relate. However, the dark night of the soul came when I was in a room with just myself. I'm going to share some of that with you today. Before I go there, the holidays are coming. We're in holiday season. And if you haven't made the change, it's not too late. 2024 is around the corner. Maybe by the time this airs, it will have already happened. And there is a way to get to the other side of whatever you're experiencing now. And so, as you know, we offer a free 15-minute discovery call. We don't sell you anything. We're just there to talk, have a conversation, see if we have some resources that may help you. We might not. But just the act of booking that call is very, very brave. It's action. And so I invite you to do that. So let me preface that dark night of the soul with a little of what was going on. If you've heard me before, you may know that I am a breast cancer survivor. All breast cancer is bad. Mine was really bad. It was triple negative breast cancer. And so my treatment was long and brutal, and there were no shortcuts. In a way, it fits that I got that. Now, I do carry the BRCA1 mutation. I was pretty much doomed to get it. But it was such a rigorous course of treatment that in a weird way, it allowed me to fall back into some of my old behaviors, and I'll get to that in a moment. Before I was diagnosed, I had stopped drinking yet again. And to tell you the truth, it was the same old routine. I was not drinking, but I wasn't too happy about it. I wasn't acquiring skills to mend my relationship with myself or my children. I wasn't really in a place where I could receive what they were saying. I was just looking for validation and I wasn't getting it. And so chances are I may have returned to drinking anyway. But then this diagnosis came. And when I got the treatment plan, I went into my typical mode, which is push hard, push harder, push hardest, so that you can control the outcome. Does that resonate with you? If it does, we are twinning right now, and I get it. I had so much treatment that I needed to go through, and so I decided that I would be the perfect cancer patient. I followed everything to a T. I had bone broth, I had green juice, I did all the things. Acupuncture, I was the perfect cancer patient. At the end of my 16, yes, I said 16 chemotherapies, my doctor's office still calls me the push-up girl. I decided I was going to do push-ups. And I decided ahead of time. I told my doctor, a wonderful doctor, Dr. Dev Paul, that I was going to do push-ups at the end of chemo. And he nodded and politely and said, "Oh, okay." On my 16th chemo, my final one, Dr. Paul brought the staff and the nurses, the phlebotomists, everybody in, and I did 30 push-ups. It was impressive. I have a really cool video of it. And I'm going to get back to why I really did those push-ups in a second. And so I was certain that because I had done everything right, that I would get the outcome I desired. The outcome I desired was what we call a PCR, a pathological complete response. That means that when they went in for my double mastectomy, they would not find any live cancer. That's really important with all breast cancers, but with triple negative, it's predictive. It definitely is quite predictive of your recurrence risk. Triple negative has the highest recurrence risk of all breast cancers, typically about 30 to 40%. That's really high. And there are no medications to treat that, to lower that risk. So as you can imagine, I was on a mission. So I went into my mastectomy. Yes, I was sad to be losing part of my identity as a woman, but I had my head down and I was pushing through, and I did not allow myself to even notice the grief or the loss around that, because I was on a mission. I went through my surgery. I was obviously very drugged up. I came out of anesthesia and I was alone in my room. And I got my phone and opened it. And my now former husband was in a group chat with the girls in my neighborhood, a wonderful group of ladies. And he was updating them on how the day was going. I didn't see all of the messages. I just saw him giving some updates. And then I saw a response from one of the girls, and she said, "I wonder how Victoria will handle it when she finds out that there was still live cancer." So I was there alone, all connected to machines. And that's how I found out that they had found live cancer, meaning that I had that dreaded higher risk of recurrence. I'm a mother of 4. I was 47, really, really wanted to live. And so they ended up having to sedate me because I was screaming and trying to pull out the IVs to escape. I was trying to escape this pain. So imagine my surprise after all that. Oh, and I still had a lot of treatment ahead. I still had radiation and oral chemo and more surgeries, hysterectomies, so many things. I was not finished. So imagine my surprise when shortly thereafter I found myself in a restaurant, very fancy restaurant, with a martini, and then a second. Now, I hadn't had alcohol in a long time, and I'd been through 16 chemotherapies. It was so poisonous. I don't remember the second drink because my body could not handle it. I went home and I went to bed, and I was, oh gosh, guys, we all know that shame. Well, this was just the Mount Everest of shame and shock that I had done this. It happened a couple more times. And you guys, it was like, that is when I started to think that I might be insane. I was seeing my doctor a lot, like every week. And so I went to him after this had happened a couple of times. And you may have heard this before if you've read my story, but he saw that my liver enzymes had gone up. Now, as I said, I wasn't drinking large amounts of alcohol. And I certainly wasn't drinking every day. It only happened a few times. But not only, it happened a few times. But my body couldn't handle it. And so my liver, which was already very taxed, showed that it was revolting. And my doctor looked at me, and he knew my previous struggles, and he asked me, and I told him the truth. And he said, Victoria, you just fought for your life. Are you going to let this take you out? Victoria, you just fought for your life. Are you going to let this take you out? I felt the whole room close in on me. And I made a decision. No, I'm not. I'm not going to let it take me out. In the weirdest way that curses can turn into blessings, I'm really glad that that happened. And I'm glad that I had to see my doctor so often. Because in hindsight, let's connect some dots. I have, I'm working on them, but I definitely had at that time a deep-seated desire to control outcomes. I'm not going to go into my backstory, but there are good reasons why I adopted that behavior. It was important to me to make things okay. And so it makes sense that I did what I did during treatment, that I pushed so hard, that I did everything and anything I could. It makes sense that I did those 30 push-ups. It wasn't for applause. It was to ensure that I would control the outcome of cancer. Cancer has a way of not caring, doesn't it? I'm sure everyone listening has been touched by it, and it doesn't care. It doesn't care about my control issues. It doesn't care about my push-ups.
Hi, I'm James Swanwick. Have you downloaded my free Alcohol Freedom Formula yet? If not, you can go to alcoholfreelifestyle.com/guide. You can download it. It will outline the same process that we walk our clients through in our flagship 90-day stop drinking program. You'll also get an email from me each day with tips and tricks to reduce or stop drinking, to improve your health, nutrition, mobility, and lots of other great mindset techniques. That's alcoholfreelifestyle.com/guide.
And so those drinking episodes, Okay, we can talk about the substance. Well, the substance itself, I wasn't hooked on it anymore because I hadn't had it in so long. So it wasn't just addiction. I could kind of check that one off. It wasn't a desire to fit in to society. I mean, guys, I was sitting there with a little scarf on my head. I was accustomed to not fitting in by that point. I wasn't doing it to have fun at an event. In fact, there was nothing fun even leading up to it. My mind was not saying, oh, this will be really great. Just relax and have a martini. It was a trauma response. A trauma response. I was, just like I was trying to pull myself out of that hospital bed when I received the news about the remaining cancer, I was trying to escape. Period. Escape. That was a light bulb moment when I connected those dots. And so I said, well, it is obvious that alcohol wants to take me down, just like cancer did. My doctor, my oncologist made it clear that this habit, Victoria, it cannot resume and continue. Your body will not stand for it. Not to mention that it would compromise the rest of my treatment, that it would leave me vulnerable to recurrence, even a higher risk. So I decided that I would treat this alcohol-free thing the same way I treated cancer, and I was going to throw the kitchen sink at it, and I did. But it started with that little tiny seed of self-compassion. Because yes, I thought I was insane. I wasn't insane. I was in a tremendous amount of pain. And through my years of coaching, people who come to us are often in the same boat. It may not look as obvious. It was clear that I was suffering. I had cancer. But they are in pain and they are seeking to escape. And their life is getting messy because of it. Except they don't know what else to do. Because their brain has learned, I describe it as an if-then statement. When we repeat the use of alcohol enough times, especially around things like this, pain, physical, emotional pain, our brain learns, if pain, then drink. If pain, then drink. And because we are driven by our amygdala, the fight or flight part of our brain when we're in that state, and the amygdala is buddies with the addictive pathways, our prefrontal cortex, the part of my brain that would say, Victoria, I know you're suffering, but maybe there's something else you could do. Maybe you could call your counselor, or maybe you could take a nap. That part of my brain was not engaging before I took that first sip. Because the amygdala, the fight or flight, knew that I was in pain and said, we have a way to fix this. Now, if you're hearing that story from me, are you listening and going, man, Victoria, you're an idiot for drinking after cancer? What? What kind of clown would do that? Maybe you are, and it's okay. I mean, yeah. However, with that information, it's more likely that you're going, oh, it makes sense. Huh. Okay, trauma response, pain, suffering. The brain learned that that's what they do. Okay. Maybe that's easy for you to have that sense of compassion as I share this very vulnerable story. My question is it possible for you to have just a touch of that same self-compassion? What would it feel like? What would it feel like to take away that self-loathing and the, oh my gosh, I am such a loser. What would it feel like to just remove that for a minute and observe your story? It may not, let's not get into comparison, okay? It may not be this big, ugly thing like cancer. It could be what I call paper cut traumas, right? Just that low grade stuff that wears us down. Or it could be another big thing, right? We've all, if you're middle aged and you're listening to this, you've been through some things. Can you look back at that and say, well, I guess looking at it from that vantage point and through the science, I guess it does kind of make sense why I fell into this. Just try it on. You know, guys, you can always go back to kicking yourself around. You know how to do that. But what if you just took a moment and said, okay, I can sort of understand why this happened. And then what happened for me was when I learned about this science, I learned that, holy cow, I'm not powerless. Because like I said, I like some control and I do like some power. I actually have a vote in how this goes. I get to create new neural pathways. I get to remember what I actually like to do. I get to learn how to soothe myself in a healthy way. Because let's be honest, most of us didn't learn that stuff growing up, right? So this is a new gig, learning how to actually take good care of ourselves. But that's what I learned. And so I leaned into that. I was like, well, you know, it is clear this alcohol thing is taking me down if I continue. And so I'm going to put my energy into this other stuff. And I'll give it a chance. Because really, what did I have to lose? I had lost so much. And you know what? It's crazy. It worked. As I was leaning into this new methodology, I kept waiting for it to be super hard, to be miserable, to have FOMO around drinkers, to long for it. I was like, come on, I mean, isn't this supposed to be miserable? Except it wasn't. It felt really, really good. It felt empowering. Yes, I had to develop tools for coping with painful emotions, but I'm still here. It didn't kill me. And the support that I get to be for our members is the same sort of support that I had. I had some really incredible women and coaches helping me. Not here. I don't know if Project 90 existed then. It may have just been starting. But I wasn't a part of this. But I found a couple of really great women to help me out. And I learned to tolerate the discomfort of emotions, those darn things. And I also got to really experience the good ones, the ones that I was chasing, but I certainly wasn't finding. Certainly didn't find in a martini glass or any glass of wine, really, that I'd had in the past 10 years. I found it on my own and with some awesome people. I had accountability and I got real with myself. And that was the inspiration for what I do now. I know what it's like to be where you are, to struggle secretly in silence, to have a narrative in your mind about who you are and what you are. I'm very passionate about what I do. So is Sarah, so is James. You don't do this sort of work if you're not passionate. That is imperative. And so my darkest moment opened the door to a beautiful life, a truly beautiful life where I'm content. I experience joy. I experience sadness. And it's all okay because I'm human. If this has helped you, I invite you to take action. Before you listen to another episode, before you scroll through our social media again, I invite you to go ahead and book a call. You can probably tell by my voice that I'm a nice person. I can be tough, but I'm kind. And so is everyone here. And the coaches you'll speak with when you call have that same element. So it's a safe conversation. It might be the key you need to unlock that door to the life that you deserve. Until next time, I hope you have a great day. Take really good care, and I'll see you soon.